some bad news. I knew it. I love when he does that.
Well, once you hit rock bottom, the only way to go is up. So good luck, okay? Good luck.
You say rock bottom, but, like, it just seems like things keep getting worse. What is rock bottom? Who decides what's the bottom of all this? I mean, seriously, you go, okay, today is Friday, and I woke up in Cleveland, and I'm going, how much worse can it get?
Hello. Good evening. Yeah. Came in here, shut the world out. Nothing to get into, nothing to be about. Just grab a little bite, quiet little night. By no means looking for Miss Right, but hello, good evening. Clearly she was out with the girls alone. That I could tell. Beautiful with belly and makeup on. So natural. Kinda make you wanna put the games away. Think about the future, but first I'll say hello, hello. Good evening. Oh, Miss Right, what are you doing here? Oh, Miss Right, wasn't expecting you tonight. Oh, Miss Right, how about we disappear? Yeah. Said if you got no plans, baby, if you got time, come and be the rest of my life. Oh, Miss Right, yeah. Well, ain't it amazing? Spend forever looking, all the time wasting. Soon as I throw my hands up and say I quit, turn the corner and there my future sits. Hello, hello. Good evening. Clearly she was out with the girls alone. That I could tell. Beautiful with belly and your makeup on. So natural. The kind to make you wanna put the games away. Think about the future, but first I'll say hello, hello. Oh, good evening. Oh, Miss Right, what are you doing today? What are you doing here, baby? Wasn't expecting you tonight. Oh, Miss Right, how about we disappear? Said if you got no plans, baby, if you got time, come and be the rest of my life. Please forgive me if I'm forward, but this chance won't pass me by. You see, I'm looking at forever, and it's the most beautiful thing I've seen in my life. Ooh, Miss Right, what are you doing? What are you doing here, baby? Wasn't expecting you tonight. Oh, Miss Right, how about we disappear? Said if you got no plans, baby, if you got time, come and be the rest of my life. Miss Right, what are you doing the rest of my life? Wasn't expecting you tonight. Miss Right, how about we disappear? Said if you got no plans, baby, if you got time, come and be the rest of my life. If you got no plans, baby, if you got time, come and be the rest of my life.
Hello, ladies and germs. Welcome to episode 302 of the Hoots podcast. We're on the road to 500. Also, on the road to 200 subscribers on our YouTube channel. Don't forget, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/the Hoots podcast. You'll find it there. Subscribe, like the video. Let us know what you like or dislike about the podcast. We appreciate your support there. Also, you can send us some feedback on Apple Podcasts as well, or anywhere you get your podcasts from. You know, one simple search of the Who's Podcast on Google, it'll direct you to everywhere you need to go, especially for the podcasting platform of your choosing. It is yours truly, the nefarious brother Adam, aka Joshie Lopez. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Lopez Media. Also on Instagram at Joshie Lopez 94, at Josh Lopez Music. Ready to record our fun episode for you guys. We're about 8 days away from night one of WrestleMania, and I'm 8 days away from being in Dallas, Texas. So it's going to be a wild couple days, but we got a fun show in store for you guys today, like we usually do. I don't have really too much questions this week for the Q&A, so it's going to be more mixed up. The Q&A session this week is going to be split into me getting the questions that I got from Chris this morning, and then talk a little bit about the Eagles concert that I got to attend this past Saturday. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that with you guys today. And then, of course, we get to our regular shenanigans, talk a little bit about what happened this week at WWE. I'll give you my thoughts on the cards for both WrestleMania and Stand and Deliver for NXT 2.0. And then in between that, before we get to what the hell is wrong with AEW, I'll be giving you my thoughts on the New Japan Cup that I've been covering, and also a little bit about the Crockett Cup that just went down this past weekend as well. So a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world of professional wrestling. Who knows if any major breaking news goes down. But it seems like Thursday's a day where news just pops up out of nowhere and some rumor innuendo nonsense starts on Twitter. But we're here to have some fun. This is your first time listening to the podcast. I want to say thank you so much for giving us a chance. I want you guys to feel like I'm sitting next to you just shooting the shit about talking pro wrestling. This is your back porch pro wrestling podcast, and we're here to have fun. We have no filter, but we're also here to lighten up your day. Hopefully this can be a positive mental escape for you, and we're going to have some fun. So I also want to give a shout out to my guy, Brother Carter, a.k.a. Sir Dericho. You can follow me on Twitter at Derek Stoughton, also on Instagram at Dericho06. That is Jericho, but with a D, 06. Also support his work at WrestlingRumors.net and, of course, DerekStoughton.com. Brother Carter will have a new edition of the Thoughts of Dericho to wrap us up, as we usually do, per ritual here on the Hoots podcast. I haven't really decided yet what I want to do for our WrestleMania preview show next week. I don't know if we want to bring on a guest. I don't know if it's something that we record late on a Thursday night because I got an early flight on the next Friday to Dallas. So I got to figure it out. My flight to Dallas, I was looking at it yesterday, was 8:30 next Friday. So I got to figure it out. But one way or another, you will get a WrestleMania preview show from us, and we'll get that out to you as best as we can. But let's get this started, shall we? We'll start off with the Good Brothers Q&A session. As always, if you ever want to participate in this segment, all you have to do is send us a question to at Josh Lopez Media or the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com. Any questions is up to you, your discretion, whether you want to ask me about wrestling, sports, life, relationships. No topic is off limits when it comes to the Hoots Podcast. So if you guys have anything you want to ask me, this is the platform for you, and we can have some fun, shall we? By the way, I am in the Good Brothers studio here in lovely Chicago, Illinois. It's been raining a lot this week, but I'll take that over the snow, so no complaints. No complaints on my end. Anyways, let's get this started. Go with the Good Brother Chris Letta at XScenes24X on Twitter. He says, thoughts on the Thunder Rosa segment last night? Poor presentation of night one as champion. I'll talk about this here because I know Brett Carter talked a little bit about this situation in his clip that he sent for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW this week. So I'll expand more on it in that segment, but since you asked, I'll talk a little bit about it right now. Look, I didn't think we were going to get to the negative route to start out this Q&A session, but, with this podcast, I keep it 100. I call a spade here. There's a lot of people at AEW that throw stones towards WWE and the stuff that they do. And, again, there's been 50-plus years of WWE program where you can pinpoint stuff that was racist or unnecessary. We know the whole drill. And pro wrestling is not the form of entertainment to really put themselves as a moral high ground or on a moral pedestal. Every company has done something that has been unnecessary or had implied racial tones towards it. I just think, first off, you have Thunder Rosa win your title in the main event last week at Dynamite. She's not starting the show. She's not starting off the second hour of the show. She's buried in the last segment before the main event. And she comes out there, and not even a minute into the interview, she's immediately cut off by Vicky Guerrero. And to say that AEW doesn't do things by design is just, I don't know who you're fooling. Because I've seen every setup to every Nyla Rose feud or big-time TV match or pay-per-view, and it's the same shit. Excuse me. Nasty, sloppy brawl on the stage. Now, everything with the whole comment about the green card and her not being a real Texan and all that, this is where I kind of chuckle at the notion of, oh, AEW is so great because they got creative freedom. This is where creative freedom goes wrong. This is where creative freedom bites you in the ass. And all due respect to everybody at AEW, but I'll tell you this. It's getting really, really annoying trying to enjoy their product, and then they do shit like this. And it's the double standard of the coverage in the industry that bothers me the most when it comes to this promotion, because they do just as much stupid shit as the WWE does, but we won't mention it because it's a new company. They do no wrong. The Teflon. They're learning, right? They're learning. I don't know if they're learning. Why we need to mention a green card or question the validity of Thunder Rosa being a Texas native and saying that she needs to go back to Mexico and all the shit that they said last night. Like, how's that constitute a world title opportunity? And this goes back to something that I'm going to talk about a little later on in the show today, where the way that AEW gets to these matches, especially on Dynamite, is just head-scratching at times. Because for a promotion that loves to talk about their wins and losses mattering, it's kind of like looking at power rankings in the NFL or anything in sports. And there's a certain asterisk attached to it. I do believe who you beat should matter as far as where you rank or what constitutes your push. I'm sorry, Nyla Rose having 80-second matches and sloppy tag matches with Emi Sakura on Dark and Elevation every other week doesn't make her a number one contender in my eyes. And how many times have we done this routine with Nyla Rose? Oh, she's the number one contender. Oh, she loses. Oh, on a random episode on Dynamite, she beats a popular wrestler like Ruby Soho. And Ruby has been on Dark and Elevation since that loss. So I think this entire situation is a shining light that everything AEW does is not the greatest thing since sliced bread. And I think it's embarrassing. You know, there's already been complaints about the lack of TV time for the women or the actual attention that should be put towards the women's division. You know, it's one thing to have the same Jade Cargill backstage segment. I don't mind seeing her on my TV, but she's going to be doing the same shit week in and week out. What's the point to it? I think it's unfortunate. I really do. That didn't need to happen. And especially for her winning the title last week. To not even, this is the time where I always say AEW has this fascination with having matches just to appease Meltzer and having to drop their load formatting philosophy. you tell me that you can't have the show start off with Thunder Rosa cutting her promo? Wouldn't it be a nice change of pace that a woman actually started an AEW show? You know, she had this big moment. I don't get it. I just don't. I think it's unfortunate. It's something that didn't need to happen. So it's ridiculous. And everybody at AEW, whoever decided to approve that, should be ashamed of themselves. So next question, we got a football one here. How wide open is the NFC North? Well, I can't really say that it's wide open. I'm not expecting much from my Chicago Bears this year. I'm really not. I know what the realities of this football team. I think it's probably more wide open for the Vikings and the Lions than it is my Bears. But again, the diva himself, Aaron Rodgers, will dictate where this division goes. So I would love to say it's wide open. Seeing Devontae Adams get traded to the Oakland Raiders got a good chuckle out of myself last week. I thought that was hilarious. So I'm happy for my guy, Adam Daly. Devontae is a great acquisition for the Raiders, and I think the Raiders are going to be pretty damn good this year. So, I can't really say that the division is wide open, Chris, because I don't see a scenario where my Bears will even find a way to get to the 7th seed of the playoffs, let alone make the playoffs at all. So it's unfortunate. We still got to deal with Karen Rodgers, as you like to say, Chris, but I don't think it's wide open as people are making it out to be. I love to be proven wrong. You know, things can happen, injuries happen, but who knows? We'll take a quick swig of water before we get to this next question here. All right. Next question. Outside of the Bucks and Rams, who else can contend in the NFC? I will say to add on to your previous question, Chris, I think the NFC is wide open. Even though I don't think the North Division is wide open, I think the conference itself is wide open. That's a great question. I'm not going to put the Cowboys there until proven otherwise. You know, I get it. I get the talent they have, and they always seem to find a way to get themselves in the playoff picture. But it's kind of the same song and dance with the Cowboys for the last 20 years. So that's all I see them do, something actually impressive in the playoffs. I don't know. There's just there. I could say possibly San Francisco getting another run towards it. I think Arizona's going to take a step back this season. Things are just not looking good for that franchise right now. And Kyler Murray's acting like a little girl, so he really needs to grow up. Let's see. Can you say that the Commanders? I wouldn't say the Commanders have a chance of winning the NFC, but I can see them getting into the playoffs. Honestly, this is probably the most wide open the NFC has been in years as far as who could potentially be playoff contenders and who will be in and who will not be in. I think Carolina's going to take a step back. I think Atlanta's obviously to rebuild. So that's just basically Bucks all the way for that division. I talked about the North already. As far as the East, I don't know. The Giants are still going to be the same. It's going to be down to the Commanders or the Giants who are going to probably win that division. So, Rams. I'm going to go with the 49ers. That's probably my one team I could pick off the top of my head. I'll probably have a really good chance of going to the Super Bowl next season. Thoughts on Ring of Honor Super Card of Honor? Well, I was just pulling up the card right here for the matches that are announced so far. So we have Jonathan Gresham, the current Ring of Honor World Champion, against Bandito. This is a winner-takes-all match due to Bandito having to surrender the title due to injury. So this is a long-gated match that they've been waiting and building for a while now. I look at the card here, and they got some good matches. Obviously, this is going to be the first Ring of Honor event run by Tony Khan, so I'm sure you're going to have some AEW influence on it. I mean, there's already AEW people on this card. But we have the Briscoes against FTR for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Swerve Scott, Shane Strickland will be taking on Alex Zane, a match that I saw on 205 Live. And then we got Jay Lethal against Lee Moriarty with Matt Sydal at his side. From what I've seen, the card looks pretty decent. I've only covered one Bandito match, and that was at MLW. He's pretty impressive, but it's kind of hard to separate the skill levels of different luchadors because they all have the same style. So it's kind of hard to pinpoint, like, okay, that's the guy. You know, I like his work. I'm not saying that I'm not a fan of his, but it's hard to separate what he does to Phoenix or Aerostar and Drago and et cetera, et cetera. Hell, even Laredo Kid as well, if you want to add to that equation. I think, honestly, everybody would be excited for the Briscoes and FTR finally fighting each other. But all in all, card looks fine. I guess it's crazy. I think there's like 3 different streaming events going on right during the Undertaker's Hall of Fame speech. Because I'm looking right there. It's on April 1st. It'll be on pay-per-view, obviously. It's at the Curtis Caldwell Center in Garland, Texas. I know Impact is doing some multiverse type of special on Fight TV that day too. It's a lot of stuff going on next week. It's gonna be insane. I don't know how I'm gonna catch up with it, but I'm looking into it. I have to reach out to my guy that I have a working relationship with at Lords of Pain to see if I can get my way to start covering more Ring of Honor shows, depending on how the distribution will go out with them and AEW as the company moves forward. So that's a great question. As far as the card's concerned, Chris, I think it's solid for what I've seen so far, but I'm sure there'll be some AEW shenanigans that you get with every Tony Khan production. So with that being said, let's move it on here. Okay. Next question here on the show. Do you think we'll see Deonna Purrazzo on Supercard of Honor and possible opponent? Well, I would think so, but I also think Deonna may be on that multiverse show. So it's kind of 50-50 up in the air as far as if there'll be a women's title match on that program. Honestly, I would not be surprised if Jade Cargill or Thunder Rosa defend their titles on that show. What match are you looking forward to or interested in for NXT Stand and Deliver? Okay, that's a good question. I think the Creed Brothers, MSK, and Imperium will be a fantastic match. I can't put over Imperium enough. I sound like a broken record, but Imperium is one of my favorite tag teams in wrestling. They deserve more respect. They are fantastic in what they do. I have a blast covering their matches. I'd say Gunther and LA Knight should be fun too. Different type of match that you expect. It's going to be a very physical night for LA Knight, so it should be interesting. And I'll tell you what, like I am intrigued by Braun Breaker and Dolph Ziggler. This is going to be the biggest match of Dolph Ziggler's career in a long time. Probably the biggest thing since that Survivor Series thing he had with Team John Cena against the Authority in 2014. So this is the biggest match of Dolph Ziggler's career in a while, maybe even since the whole Miz feud where he put his career on the line. So this is a big opportunity for Braun Breaker. This is a big stage for Dolph Ziggler, obviously. And I think that Stand and Deliver card's going to be good. I'm going to talk a little bit about that as well in the WWE segment. So the main one I'm looking forward to the most, Chris, is the Triple Threat Tag Team match. I'm sure the ladder match should be a lot of fun, but for me personally, from a transcription point of view, I'm looking forward towards the Triple Threat Tag Team match. And the charm of that is that they'll have some proper officiating in that match as well. So it is possible to respect your referees, even if you have 6 people in the match. It is possible. Last question for Chris here. Last question for the Q&A this week, actually. Will CM Punk be in the title picture in the next 6 months? I think so. They made enough hits about it. It was a big topic of conversation in this media scrum following the Revolution pay-per-view. So I think probably for sure that CM Punk will get a title shot at All Out. Does he win? We'll have to see. But I do think CM Punk will get a title shot. For me, it depends on how they go about it. Is this something that makes Hangman Page a heel? Does it make CM Punk a heel? Is it a babyface versus babyface match? Does Anna Cole lose at Double or Nothing and still act like a crybaby and politic and stuff into making it a triple threat match at All Out? I have no idea. But for me, I think that CM Punk will definitely get a title match within the next 6 months. So I can see that happening for sure. I want to thank Chris for sending the questions. Like I said, we didn't get a lot this week, but that's okay. I'm glad if anybody sends any type of questions to us. So thank you, Chris, for sending us questions this week. I want to wrap up this segment here and talk a little bit about my weekend. I got a chance to go attend the Eagles Hotel California tour concert at the United Center. I mentioned it before, I've only gone to 2 concerts in my life, and both of them were Eagles concerts. This was my 3rd. If that was the last one that I just saw on Saturday, if that's the last time that they come to Chicago, I'm glad I went to that one because it's the best concert I've ever went to. I loved it. It was a very special night for me. It's always good to get out the house and do your own thing. I've been noticing it a lot more since I moved out to this apartment. I'm living on my own. It's good to have that time for yourself to go out and do things. And, you know, a lot of times I'm more confined into the house because I'm busy with the transfers and stuff like that. So when I do get a chance to go out, especially on the weekends, I don't take that stuff for granted. And I was not going to miss this show. And I was very fortunate with the seats that I got. And it was really the best seat. It's the best concert I ever been to. It was a special night. It was cool. Yeah, I was singing along, having a blast. It was just a fucking awesome night. They played the entire Hotel California album from front to back to start off the show. It had this really cool, fancy intro where they have a guy come out and put the vinyl version of the vinyl. You know what I'm talking about, like the CD vinyls. He put that on the track, the vinyl player, and pretend like they're going to play the album. But the Eagles started right off in Hotel California, and it was just an awesome, awesome show. Joe Walsh is the freaking man. Just to watch him perform in person is just amazing, especially for me being a guitar player. Funny story, in the song In the City, Joe broke one of his guitar strings and still put on an epic guitar solo to wrap up that song. It was awesome. And then to wrap it up, because this guy is not a legend enough, he decides to do the riff from the Day Tripper song from the Beatles. So I loved my time at the concert. There was a lot of different types of people, kids my age, older adults, grandparents. It was a really interesting night. And I got to say, you know, and maybe because I've only gone to concerts to the United Center, I haven't experienced that at the Allstate Arena yet. But I think the United Center is the ultimate place to have a concert. The sound in the building was fantastic. You know, they played Greatest Hits set after the first part of the show. Shout out to Vince Gill. That was my first time getting to see him perform in person, so that was pretty cool. I thought he did a fantastic job. You know, see Timothy B. Schmidt is always cool. Don Henley's still the man. I love the Eagles. I'm biased. I talk about it a lot on the show, but the Eagles are my favorite band of all time. The history of the Eagles is my favorite documentary of all time. I love the band, and it was a very, very special night for me. So I'm glad I was able to go out, have some fun, and just enjoy that experience for what it was. It was really a really special night and an experience I'll never forget. I put some videos and pictures of me going to the concert on my Instagram page if you guys want to check that out. Obviously, I can't put it on Twitter because God forbid you put anything of music or anything like that on Twitter, but you could put fucking porn scenes and movie scenes on Twitter and not get your account suspended. But my account's been suspended for over a year now because I put guitar covers. Twitter sucks. But honestly, guys, I had a blast. I really did. And, these last couple weeks have been really special for me, getting to go and have that experience of doing episode 300 with you guys was very special to me. And I appreciate you guys letting me be vulnerable and let that announcement come out that we're going to continue on with the show. That was really special for me. I wanted to express that to you guys. And then last week, getting to go to the Eagles concert was even equally special personally because that's my favorite band. And if that was the last time I ever get to see them perform in person, I'm glad that I did. And then, next week is going to be kind of a full circle moment for me. I mentioned the story a bunch of times, but I am going to Dallas, and I'm going to have a fucking blast at WrestleMania. So this is going to be a great time. I'm really, really looking forward to it. It should be a special week next week, so looking forward to it. On that note, we're going to wrap it up there for this week's edition of the Good Birds Q&A session. As always, you don't have to wait for the show. You can ask me questions during the weekend or during the shows. If you have any type of question you want to ask me about life, relationships, sports, pro wrestling, you can ask me at Twitter at Josh Lopez Media or the Hoots Podcast at gmail.com. When we come back and talk about what happened this week in WWE as we're 8 days away from WrestleMania 38, right here on the Hoots Podcast. All right. Welcome back to the Hoots Podcast. Everybody's trying to talk about what happened this week in WWE, as Michael Cole would say. A lot to discuss. Let's start off with Friday Night SmackDown, the show that Michael Cole does host. And I want to talk a little bit about his broadcasting partner, Pat McAfee, who is currently slated to fight Austin Theory at WrestleMania on WrestleMania Sunday. And he was step into Mr. Meek Mahan's office and decided that Pat needed to apologize to Mr. Theory for what happened to Theory on last week's edition of SmackDown. So here's what went down.
Austin Theory, I am so... Buddy now. Come on, let's do this. Austin Theory, He can't do it. You talk to Mr. McMahon, it's going to cost Paul Austin Theory, I'm sorry for beating your ass last week. Austin Theory, I'm sorry your parents raised a douchebag. Austin Theory, I'm sorry I made your filter face ass relevant. Austin Theory, I apologize that you're a punk bitch.
Yeah, punk bitch. Oh, man. Pat McAfee is a gem. The guy is a national treasure. I mentioned it last week that I just look up to this guy and how he carries himself in his business and everything he does. I do believe he has the best Monday through Friday sports talk show in the world right now. And I'm just a really big fan of Pat McAfee. So I just want to start off there on some positive tips and talk a little bit about what happened there. Overall, I thought SmackDown was good. I wouldn't say it was great or anything this past week. The show was in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we started off the show like we usually should start every show of SmackDown with your tribal chief, my tribal chief, the head of the table, Roman Reigns. Yeah, read a little bit of the quote here that he had here in this segment. Charlotte, trust me, I understand. I fulfilled my obligations. I'm here. I want Brock to be here as well. Like I said, I was about to smash him. Think about this. Let's not blame Brock and the weather and private jets and all that. That was a business decision. That man is scared of me. Brock Lesnar is scared of his tribal chief. He's scared of the head of the table. And as he should be. Because I said it before, and as the shirt says now, I'm in God mode now. This is greatness on a different level. And there ain't a man that can touch me. So the show is, Roman Reigns posted up his bravado, saying that he's going to smash Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. Paul Heyman initially said that Brock Lesnar was experiencing weather delays, and then got a later text saying that he just landed, and this just caused sheer anarchy. So they're running. He's like, one of my favorite parts of the segment, Roman's like, you know what you're going to do. No, he's like, I know what I'm going to do. You're going to wrap this up and take it home. So the Bloodline just did some Paul Heyman. And Paul's like, wait for me. Wait for me. I thought that was great. And then they go through the backstage area, and fucking Brock Lesnar got a damn forklift, and he drives right through the car the Bloodline's in. Like, oh my God. Cowboy Brock is a national treasure as well. I'm sure Brock Lesnar enjoys the gabagool, the gabagool. That whole opening set was awesome. Honestly, picture Brock Lesnar running at you at full speed and rips out the fucking door of the truck they're driving in. My God, that was awesome. Yeah, a couple other matches on the show. Nakamura, Rick Bootsby, and Los Lotharios. We had a 6-man tag with Drew McIntyre. The Viking Raiders beating up Baron Corbin, Jinder Mahal, and Shanky. Like I said last week, don't sleep on this match, man. I get it. People are not into the whole Happy Corbin character and Madcap Moss. I understand all of that, but if you think this is going to be a run-of-the-mill match, blah, 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 I think these guys are going to come in with a chip on their shoulder. And there's 2 matches from SmackDown going into WrestleMania that are really going to go into this program with chips on their shoulders. This one, and it's Charlotte Flair and Ronda Rousey. Another good segment to wrap up the show. I do want to mention my favorite part, match-wise, of the show was, believe it or not, Sasha Banks and Naomi against Rhea Ripley and God's Gift of Waterfall, Liv Morgan. Fantastic match by all 4 women. It was ended up in the no contest due to Shayna Baszler and Natalya getting in their feelings. They get added to the women's title match at WrestleMania, so now it's a fatal 4-way. Overall, like I said, I thought SmackDown was decent. I wouldn't say it was good or great. Let's go over to Monday Night Raw, which took place in my hometown, Chicago, Illinois, at the Rosemont Horizon. Show started off with Kevin Owens as Stone Cold Steve Austin walking down to the ring. Let's play a little bit of this.
Give me a hell at WrestleMania! Give me a hell yeah! I don't think I got that. I said, if you're ready to see Kevin Owens raise hell all over that sorry son of a bitch, Stone Cold, give me a hell yeah! What? 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 That Kevin Owens said about my home state of Texas, and they were horrible things, but let's be honest, they're all true, and he got my attention. So when he invited me to be a guest on the biggest, most stupendous KO show of all time, well, you saw what I did, right? You saw that horrible little video. I drove out in the middle of nowhere and pretended to be a badass while standing in front of my pathetic little golf cart. And I gotta say, I didn't really know what I was gonna do. So I figured, I'll just do what I do best, and that's run my little mealy mouth and accept Kevin Owens' invitation without thinking. See, that's the problem. I don't do much thinking these days. To be honest, at this stage in my life, the lights are on, but is anybody home? And now, well, here we are. I am going to WrestleMania. I am going to the KO show. Y'all got to be the stupidest sons of bitches I ever said.
I had to stop there so we don't get any copyright strikes. Oh, man. I'll admit, I was a little bummed out that I did not go to this show. I hate missing WWE shows, especially in Chicago. It's been a little tradition of mine as a kid that I just go to all the WWE shows. And I was a little bummed out, I'm not gonna lie. I was bummed out that I didn't get to go this week. But you know, seeing Kevin Owens come out as Stone Cold, and if you guys watched the video, if you go back and go on the YouTube channel, you'll just see Corey Graves just dying laughing in the background. I just thought that was fantastic. Kevin Owens, again, feeling to sound like a broken record on this episode, but again, another national treasure that is Kevin Owens. Let me just say this. Stone Cold is going to stuff a mud hole in his ass and walk it dry, man. And it's going to be great. You know, even though I'm excited to go to WrestleMania next week, I am going to feel a little bummed out to miss out that experience of watching the show with my Uncle Jeremy and Uncle Chris. Because my Uncle Chris, Chris Chuck, would... he's a big attitude era guy. He's especially a big Stone Cold Steve Austin fan, so he's gonna lose his shit during that. That's gonna be tremendous, and I could be happy for KO. He's doing some of the best work of his career right now, and for him to have that run, to share that WrestleMania moment with Stone Cold, and it's been built towards it. I could be happy for KO, and I thought he had a phenomenal performance on Raw this past Monday, so I want to give a shout out to KO. Overall, I thought Raw was pretty strong for the most part. You had the Mysterios beat the Dirty Dogs. After the match, Miz ripped off Ray's mask. So that went down. They announced that Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns will be at Raw next week in Pittsburgh. I heard something a little bit about almost potentially fighting Bobby Lashley at WrestleMania. I necessarily don't have an issue with that. I know some people are kind of iffy on Omos and whether he's good or not. I like to give people a chance, and I think he's serviceable for what he is. And if it's something where Bobby Lashley could beat up somebody his size, I think it'd be good. What else? I thought it was a nice little spotlight for Carmella and Queen Zelina. They kind of teased that they're having tension with each other because Carmella's more fixated on her wedding and instead of the women's titles, so that led into a brawl. And it would brawl with those two in the backstage, and then they found a way to beat up everybody during the match. So I thought that was a nice little switcheroo. Kind of keep you on your toes type of scenario. I think that women's tag team title match at WrestleMania is going to be pretty decent, to be honest with you. I don't know if you make it an elimination match, but either way, I think it'll be pretty cool. Really quick, one of my favorite parts of Raw this week was Becky Lynch's promo. And I wasn't sure if we were going to get like a long length promo from Becky due to her recently having her throat box shattered by Bianca Belair at a WWE live event a couple weeks ago. But it was cool to see Becky pull that off, even with her issues. Looks like she's got back in the ring as well, so we will have the Becky-Bianca match. Bianca will probably come back to Raw next week and see how that goes. But Becky and Bianca is definitely the match, one of the matches people will be talking about coming out of that weekend. It's going to be special, and it's going to be pretty good. Just really quick, overall, my thoughts from the show from a commentary standpoint, I thought it was a little bit hit and miss. I'll admit that. We do call spade a spade here as far as stuff that are good and stuff that's not. But I thought the commentary was a little hit and miss for my liking. Pat McAfee coming out to cost Austin Theory his match with Finn Balor. I thought that was decent. Randy Orton and RK Bro gets Alpha Academy. Good stuff there. That's going to be a triple threat match now for the Raw Tag Team titles. Street Props got involved with that. Didn't really care for the 24/7 mixed tornado match, even though Dana Brooke got some good waterfall. The main event of the show for Raw this week was Seth Rollins and AJ Styles, and the winner would fight Edge in WrestleMania. And I want to talk a little bit about this. It's not the road to WrestleMania. Do you recall a time where somebody was this desperate to get a spot at WrestleMania, and they played it out for weeks in and weeks out? It's a little different from John Cena and The Undertaker at WrestleMania 34. You don't have Seth Rollins calling out somebody. We all know who it is. It's a little different. Like, I kind of like the fact that there hasn't been just one particular trying to find the right words to say it, but like we haven't had one inkling of Seth Rollins saying that, hey, this is who I need to fight at WrestleMania, this is what needs to happen, etc., etc. You know, it hasn't happened that way. So I kind of like the fact that, you know, this is WrestleMania season. Desperation is a real thing, and you see that. You definitely see that. So now we just have to wait to hear from Mr. Jeff Jarrett himself. Will he show up? Will he not? We'll have to see, pal. So I just want to get that out really quick. Yeah, Seth Rollins and AJ Styles is a good match. AJ won via disqualification due to Edge attacked him with a steel chair. It was announced that Edge and AJ Styles is actually moving to night 1 for WrestleMania, which I think is a good decision, because I feel like a lot of the marquee men's matches from what I saw from the current card was on night 2 as opposed to night 1. So I think it's a good decision to have AJ and Edge on Saturday. So good decision there. Good decision to adapt the card, if you will. Let's talk a little bit about NXT 2.0 before we get to our next part of our podcast. Show started off this week with a match with Roderick Strong and Solo Sikoa. Very good match. This was a qualifying match for the chance to fight in the ladder match for the North American title. Solo Sikoa won that one. I thought that was pretty cool. You know, this match didn't have a lot of time. The next one to talk about here, but I thought it was decent, was Elektra Lopez and Fallon Henley. I'm a big fan of Fallon Henley. I think she's very talented for what she does in the ring. Elektra Lopez is a star. She has the look and then some. And I think she's pretty decent in the ring. Elektra Lopez won that one with the Blue Thunder Bomb. Braun Breaker and Robert Roode was a very good match. Even though I thought this should have been the main event of the show. Braun Breaker did defeat Robert Roode. After the match, Dolph Ziggler super kicked Braun Breaker on the stage. We had Gunther demolish Duke Hudson, which I thought was fantastic. We had Shane McMahon. Oh, wait, my bad. You had Grayson Waller defeat the A-Kid. Here's the current matches slated for NXT Stand Deliver. We got Gunther against LA Knight, Carmelo Hayes, Santos Escobar, Solo Sikoa, Grayson Waller, and we'll figure out the final person next week on NXT. That's going to be the ladder match for the North American title. Tommaso Ciampa, Tony D'Angelo. I mentioned the match earlier. Imperium, MSK, the Creepers for the NXT Tag Team titles. It was announced following the conclusion of the Women's Dusty Cup. And shout out to Io Shirai and Kayla Ray for being the 2022 Women's Dusty Cup champions. They decided to make it a fatal four-way for the NXT Women's title. So now it's going to be Mandy Rose against Chicago's Finest Waterfall, Cora Jade, Io Shirai, and Kaylee Ray. So that should be a good match. And then obviously the main event will be Dolph Ziggler against Braun Breaker for the NXT title. So all in all, this Stand and Deliver card is not too shabby. Part of me is thinking about going to the show, but also I was looking at my itinerary for WrestleMania, and I have to get on the bus at 2:30. The show starts at 12. Look, if I'm going to a wrestling show, especially for WrestleMania, I'm not going to go there to stink, all right? So that's the tip for everybody. Go down to Dallas. Wash your ass. Honestly, for me, I'm really excited for this. This should be a good card. Maybe I'll catch the first half of it, but I definitely have to take a shower and get myself ready for the show. I would love to attend. It's just cutting it too deep. So it's just part of the deal of getting the WrestleMania travel package. It is what it is. But all in all, Stand and Deliver looks to be pretty decent. I got to tell you what, man. WrestleMania, I don't know who are coming up with these theories as this is the worst built WrestleMania of all time and this card sucks. Like, if you haven't figured it out that WrestleMania is not Wrestle Kingdom, is that really WWE's fault or is that your fault? I don't recall a WrestleMania that was centered around 5-star wrestling matches. Do they happen? Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. WrestleMania has always been about spectacle, and it will always be about spectacle. So I really don't get that line of thinking. WrestleMania has never been Wrestle Kingdom, and it'll never be Wrestle Kingdom. And there's stuff about Wrestle Kingdom that needs to be fixed too. You can have a Wrestle Kingdom card, but doing 3 useless 6-man tags on both nights is kind of defeats the purpose. So, yeah, I don't know why we're comparing Wrestle Kingdom to WrestleMania. It's two totally different things. Last thing I mentioned here. NXT UK we got today. Miko Satomura putting her NXT UK Women's title on the line against Isla Dawn. That should be very interesting. Jordan Devlin is on the program today. He's in singles action. We got the return of Wild Boar. Mike Hitchman, he'll be taking on Tyson T-Bone of Symbiosis. That should be pretty good. And NXT UK is putting out some bangers. By the way, we got A-Kid and Saxon Huxley against D Familia. Rohan Raja and Charlie Dempsey. That's going to be a fantastic match. So, support NXT UK. Last week on NXT UK, we had... Let me pull this up really quick while I'm talking to you guys here. We had Roderick Strong and Wolfgang as the main event last week. I thought that was fantastic. And looks like we're going to get Roderick Strong against Ilya Dragunov soon enough. So that should be pretty dope. All in all, solid week this week for the WWE. 8 days out from WrestleMania. We'll see what happens tomorrow night on SmackDown as SmackDown's in the Barclays Center. I want to give a shout out to my guy Robert Aurelius from ARCG Media. The ARCG WWE tour will commence there. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So that's my thoughts on what happened this week in WWE. All right, let's start off. Before we get to our main event segment this week, let's talk a little bit about what's been going on with the New Japan Cup.
Idiot. Not so much of an idiot. Nagaoka, he's actually really this. Hi, 5 years ago, in this very arena, 5 years ago, Gonemai. You remember? You idiots remember? Yeah, I bloody do as well. I don't care about a tournament I won 5 years ago. I just beat the 2021 New Japan Cup winner, and that prick tapped out. The past doesn't matter, only the present. And I'm not only gonna win the 2022 New Japan Cup, I'm also gonna win the bloody World Heavyweight title. Yeah, you know what? Don't get used to this. Don't get used to this. But I've got good memories of this city, and I'm going to make some more. Guess what? When I win the World Heavyweight title, we can have a title match in Nagaoka. But for now, Jane, as you...
I wasn't tapping out. I literally wasn't tapping out. I was like, come on, you have to, like, this is bullshit. This is actual fucking... Well, I'm not going to lie, he hurt my leg. But I wasn't tapping, I was just fucking hitting him. I was fucking hitting him. I was hitting him. Like, fuck, man, this is... Like, first of all, it's Sonata's shit. The referee should have fucking stopped it right there. But this is the one time he should have fucking stopped it. Like, I was fucking fine. I was fucking... Oh. Is there a production of this? There's got to be a production of this. Yeah, what? Review. We need a review. Something like, fuck. I tell you. This ain't done. No. I'm reviewing this.
We're down to the Final Four, pal. Not the Final Four of March Madness, but that's coming up soon. But the Final Four in the New Japan Cup for 2022. Coming up on Saturday, it's Okada against Tetsuya Naito and Shingo Takagi against Zack Sabre Jr. in Osaka. 2 big nights of wrestling in Osaka-jo Hall. Kind of the hall where they have New Japan Dominion every year. Kind of their SummerSlam event. Big weekend for New Japan Pro Wrestling as we get to figure out who is the winner of the 2022 New Japan Cup. And a lot of controversy coming out of that Nagaoka show from this past Monday morning. Zack Sabre Jr. beating Will Ospreay. A lot of discussion. Did he tap? Did he not? Seemed a big conspiracy theory for Will Ospreay. Speaking of Will Ospreay, he is coming to Chicago on April 16th. The next pay-per-view for New Japan, as far as New Japan of America and New Japan Strong. It's called Windy City Riot, which will be taking place Saturday, April 16th. And your boy will be there. It's going to be at the Odeum in Villa Park. I've never been to this venue before. Going to the show with a buddy of mine I went to school with. Very excited to check that out. It should be a blast. But coming up this weekend, we got the semifinals and the finals of the New Japan Cup. And I'm very intrigued to see what goes down here. This could go a lot of different directions. But for me, I think the finals of the New Japan Cup will be Naito and Shingo. And I believe Naito will win the New Japan Cup this year. I'm sticking to my guns. I do believe Naito will defeat Okada and Shingo. It's going to be an interesting couple days. I think it could go. Hell, Shingo could find a way to win, and I wouldn't have a problem with that. Zack Sabre Jr. is going to bring all he's got to Shingo, but I think that match out of the two is the one that I'm most certain will go down. Would I be surprised if Okada defeats Naito? No, I wouldn't. But I don't see Okada making the finals of the New Japan Cup this year. I just don't. So that's my picks there for the New Japan Cup. I just wanted to let you guys know a little bit about that, and then this as well. We have off our heels a 2-night event of the Crockett Cup in Nashville at the Fairgrounds, formerly known as the Asylum for the old school TNA days. I watched this event. I watched both of them. Believe it or not, right as I was done with the Eagles concert, I got back home at like quarter till midnight. And I covered that night one right after. I didn't go to bed till like 3 o'clock in the morning that Sunday. So I did cover that show. And I'll tell you what, man. I want NWA to succeed. There's some good action. You know, you had matches like La Rebellion against Hawks Airy. You know, PJ Hawks had a tremendous performance despite his dad getting injured in the first match of that tournament. You know, the team of Douglas Williams and Harry Smith, I thought that was pretty good. Gold Rush, Jordan Clearwater, and Marcy Rocket, I thought they did a decent job as well. But I don't know, man. The presentation of the Crockett Cup, also with the shitty-ass finish that I've seen so far this year with Nick Aldis and Matt Cardona from this past Sunday, kind of left a sour taste in my mouth. And I hate saying that because I want the NWA to be good and I support it, and I paid for the second night of the show, and I cover every show that they do, and I appreciate what they do as an organization for wrestling and as another company out there for the fans, but I don't know, something's missing, something's off, and having Jeff Jarrett there didn't add anything to what I already thought was going to happen. And this overemphasis on Matt Cardona, and now Chelsea Green's now a big factor, and then we got a tag team called the Cardonas with VSK and Mike Knox. You know, I get it that Matt Cardona's doing a lot of great stuff in the Indies, and he's the Indie champion of the world, but NWA started to lose his identity, and I'm not really vibing with this stuff. That whole finish was grade A horse shit. I thought Vince Russo's back there piling that up. I just thought it was sloppy and all over the place. And this over fascination of Matt Cardona is just very interesting to me. And then randomly Trevor Murdoch turns heel on the show because he's not medically cleared to compete. Very odd. Very odd. I'll say that. Also, the whole thing with Jack Stane cashing in on Anthony Mayweather, I thought that sucked too. So that's my thoughts on the Crockett Cup. On that note, it's time to give the people what they want, what they've been waiting for all week. It's time for another stellar edition of What the Hell is Wrong with AEW. Let's start off with the Director of Operations, a.k.a. Sir Dericho, in a 3, 2, 1.
Beat your meat, 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 beat your meat.
It's time for What the Hell is Wrong with AEW? What the hell is wrong with AEW? I'm going to say almost everything. This was one of the worst episodes of Dynamite of the year. No question. Tonight's episode was absolutely terrible, except for a few highlights that almost tried. They did their best to save the show, but the rest of this was complete and utter dog shit. So let's get into the stuff that I liked. It won't take long. Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley look good as a team, and I have to admit I like this pairing. It was fine. God bless MJF, though. He is the best part about AEW, and it's not close. He was absolutely terrific on the microphone, as he always is. Giving it to Wardlow. Going to pay Wardlow to stay at home now so that he can't grow. I mean, to me, I almost like that's a pretty good deal, for Wardlow. He gets basically to be at home for free. I kind of like that. But great stuff from MJF. Great lines. He's not afraid to go to certain places. And if you like that stuff, fine. But that's MJF for you. It was terrific. Really good match with Adam Cole and Jay Lethal. I thought that was excellent. It's great to see Adam Cole come back to where he was before he started getting scrawny and thin. He still needs to gain some weight, but he's at least getting back, and that's good. And it looks like we're getting another rematch of the Adams, which we'll get into here in a little bit. And God, I love Dan Lambert. He is an absolute genius on the microphone, and I'm always excited whenever Dan Lambert... Why AEW doesn't give him more time to talk, I don't understand. But that's what I liked about the show, and let's get into the crap, because oh my God, was there a bunch of crap. We might be getting into what the fuck is wrong with AEW territory by the end of this. Okay, so we start off with CM Punk and Dax Harwood. And the match was okay. Good effort from both competitors, but it felt a little bit lacking to me for some reason. And maybe it was just because I was expecting something different. But I'll give them credit. I'll even say that it wasn't bad. That's kind of like the in-between what was good and bad. It was okay. And Punk is right. He needs to be the next challenger for the AEW World title. I'll put that into the okay category. Wasn't great, but it wasn't bad either. Nobody in the Jericho Appreciation Society should talk except Chris Jericho. That backstage promo they had was not good, and I don't care about what any of them have to say. I also now see why WWE released Everrise, now known as 2.0, because good Lord, their microphone skills are terrible. Like, all of them can't talk. Hager's the worst. The only one that has any sort of a semblance on the microphone is Chris Jericho. But nobody in that group should be allowed to talk except Jericho. And then we get this ridiculous Mudshow free-for-all tag match that served absolutely no purpose at all. You've got the Hardy family, or the Andrade family office, the Butcher Blade and Private Party against the Hardy, Sting, and Darby Allin. AEW's luck is going to run out at some point, and one of these superstars is going to end their career by doing this stupid crap for absolutely no reason at all. Just spot after spot after spot after spot after spot to try to outdo themselves. It was absolutely terrible. Darby Allin needs to get away from these clowns as soon as he can and be the amazing single superstar that he can be, because he's terrific. But this match was god-awful. It was pointless. It was a waste of time. I hated everything about this match. I will say, though, Sting continues to impress me every single time he wrestles. He's 62 years old, and he's still got it. Like, when crowd says you still got it to Sting, I give him credit on that. That's actually true. But this was a piece of crap, and I hated this match. The Varsity Blondes didn't get a TV entrance, so we knew what was going to happen with them, and they've basically been relegated to jobbers, which sounds about right. And then Moxley cuts his after the match promo saying that you have to be violent to hang with this group. So basically what he's saying is the only way you can hang with this group is if you're from CZW or somebody like Nick Gage, who made his one-and-done appearance and then we haven't seen on television again. Shocking, I know. Why on earth should I care about Lance Archer and Dustin Rhodes? What reason do I have to be invested in this match that they are building to be this bitter feud with a video package? We haven't seen Lance Archer on television in about 2 months, like in anything that's worth watching. Dustin Rhodes is kind of hit or miss on television. Now all of a sudden they throw this video package together like it's this, oh my God, this pay-per-view type feud. Like, why the hell do I care? Why should I care about this match on Rampage? Oh wait, I don't, and I have no reason to. Booker of the Year, pal. That's going to be the theme of the night. Booker of the Year, pal. Oy. Boring match between Layla Hirsch and Red Velvet. They're good wrestlers, but that was a match that certainly happened. They don't have chemistry. I don't care about any of this. And then we're supposed to hear from Thunder Rosa, right? We're supposed to hear from Thunder Rosa. It's exciting. She just won her first AEW Women's Championship. She deserves to be at the top of the mountain. I think she's an absolute star. I'm a big fan of Thunder Rosa. I think she's one of the top females in the company, behind Jade Cargill, of course, but she's fantastic. And then Nyla Rose, well, first you have Vicky Guerrero, who comes out tries to do her same old shtick like she's done since 2010, and has tried to be relevant since 2010, and just hasn't worked. And now all of a sudden she does the, excuse me! And I'm supposed to care about this for some reason. Whatever. That was just annoying. And Nyla Rose, someone who hasn't been relevant in about 6 months, is all of a sudden going to be going for the AEW Women's Championship. What does that say to all these women that are busting their ass in the ring to try to get better, and all of a sudden Nyla Rose, who's become irrelevant for a long time, we're just going to push her to the front of the line because we only have like three women that we actually care about in AEW. Remember, AEW, anyone except women, apparently. You got Jade Cargill, who is by head and away the best part about that division, as the TBS champion. They're going to hopefully build her up to the world title eventually. I mean, then who's left? You got Thunder Rosa, she's great. Red Velvet's meh. Layla is fine. Layla Hirsch is fine. Britt Baker is on a steady decline. Who's left? We haven't seen Ruby Soho in a long time. We haven't seen Paige Van Zandt in a long time. We haven't seen her do anything relevant. Paige Van Zandt hasn't done anything relevant since she's been there. Who's left? Who is left that can challenge for the women's championship? What is up with this women's division? AEW, anyone except women. And then we get to the quote-unquote main event, because the Booker of the Year felt that this trash with the Jericho Appreciation Society should be the main event over Cole and Lethal, over Punk and Dax Harwood. This is your main event. Great line from JR, who's apparently gone blind, when he said Jericho is in great shape. God, he says, Jericho is in great shape. Jericho has apparently gone blind at that moment. And AEW has now gotten on the bandwagon of making their own referees look incompetent because, you had the interference on the ramp, they did the fake thing, and then useless Aubrey Edwards, sends away other Dark Order members instead of, the rest of the Jericho Appreciation Society. So, AEW, actually, I should say the referees do a good enough job on their own of making themselves look incompetent. You don't need assistance from AEW booking them looking incompetent to help build your case. Boring match to end the show. Jericho Appreciation Society gets the win. Whatever. This was a terrible edition of Dynamite, except for, someone said maybe the first 40 minutes, and I'd buy that. But the rest of it was absolute garbage. One of the worst episodes of Dynamite they've done so far this year. And they should be embarrassed that this Booker of the Year and anybody who's a fanboy, well, but of course, it's AEW, so anybody is, they can do no wrong because it's AEW and the internet wrestling community and their infinite wisdom has deemed it so. But we're going to tell you how it is. This was a terrible episode of Dynamite run by a terrible company that has no business competing with anybody on television for any reason at all. Seriously, what the hell is wrong with AEW?
This has been What the Hell is Wrong with AEW.
All right, on that note, that's a wrap for our edition of the Hoots podcast this week. No, I'm kidding. Welcome back, everybody. I want to give a big shout out to the one and only Sir Dericho there for his submission for this week's edition of What the Hell is Wrong with AEW, aka What Isn't Wrong with AEW. Before I get started into what I need to talk about, let's play a little clip here from MJF here on the Ariel Helwani show.
You genuinely love NXT 2.0?
It's great.
What is great about it?
It's great. I mean, honestly, there's so many charisma machines on that program. There is. I don't know why you're laughing. I think it's a great show. And they had a makeout competition this past Tuesday, gripping television. How can you not like a makeout competition? I mean, I practically had a makeup competition with that hot redhead a couple weeks ago. I don't know if you saw that, Ariel. But I mean, who doesn't like a good makeout session? So I'm enjoying it. I think Bruce is doing a hell of a job. And at the end of the day, quite frankly, there's a lot of guys there that are developing and are trying to figure out who they are as human beings. Not who they are as acts, but who they are as human beings. And, it's fun to watch. You get to see these young guys develop and figure it out.
I'm sure that's going to ruffle some feathers. Oh, that's great. Okay. Let's start off with this. Let's start off with the good stuff, okay? Because, like Brother Carter perfectly said in his clip there, there's really not much to talk about. This episode was complete and utter dog shit. I may even relate it to a pigsty. That's how ridiculous this episode was. But we had a couple decent stuff. We had this opening match with CM Punk and Dax Harwood. You're rarely going to hear me say anything bad about CM Punk or his work because he's actually a professional wrestler on a professional wrestling show. And Dax Harwood is one of the few talents I actually do enjoy on AEW. I just don't want to hear the guy talk. But he can sure as hell wrestle the ring. And I have no problem with that. The Adam Cole Jay Lethal match. No problem. I thought that was fine. What I do have a problem with is the afterbirth brawl after that, which I thought was unnecessary, but hey, that's AEW for you. And Dan Lambert. Dan Lambert and MJF kept me from changing the channel while Dynamite was live last night. After those first couple matches, I just really couldn't give two shits about the show. I mentioned this before, and I hope you guys are starting to notice this as well when you guys listen to the segment and you guys watch like AEW shows throughout the week. Don't you notice when things are going in a different direction, they hear Tony Schiavone say, "Man, we're just getting started. This is only the first match of the night. We got a hell of a card, guys." Again, don't believe what the internet tells you. Tony Khan is in the ear of his announcers just as much as Vince McMahon is. Do not fall for the okie doke. Okay? Do not fall for the okie doke. You're not going to pull one past me, pal. That's just being honest. Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's start off with this. All due respect to William Regal, I give two shits about this Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson stuff. I really don't. I'd rather see them beat the shit out of each other than them as a tag team. We already got enough useless tag teams, and them beating wannabe my bad, let me rephrase that. Seeing Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson beat Dollar Tree Tarzan and Lucha Douche has no interest for me. I don't care. Let's talk about other stuff that I don't care. We had a crappy Jericho Appreciation Society backstage promo, as if anybody ever needed that. We had another promo backstage with the best friends. Let's play this.
All right, guys, a week ago we saw William Regal slap Wheeler Yuta. First time the best friends have been together since that time.
Well, Tony,
Whoa.
You know I never liked you. But these guys trained you. They brought you into this company, and they let you live on their couch. And you're going to repay them by running off and trying to join the William Regal Tough Guy Club? I'm done with you.
You know, Trent, I love these guys to death. I never really liked you either, though. And, you know, I'm not trying to be the best friend I can be. I'm trying to be the best wrestler I can be. You either get that or you don't.
Such riveting shit, pal. Let's give it up for Wheeler Yuta and Trent Barrera on Rampage next week. Yes. Oh my God. Jon Moxley and Bryan Danielson beating Varsity Blondes in a 2-segment match while the Varsity Blondes struggled to beat Sachera Chong and Tony Vincita on Dark this past Tuesday. By the way, do you guys even know who I just mentioned? Sachera Chong and Tony Vincita. Do you guys even know who they are? That's right. They had a 10-plus minute tag match on Dark this week with two jobbers. Yeah, man. I put in the description of this podcast this week that the way that the match card, specifically in AEW, it feels like it's on autopilot mode. What did Jay Lethal do to constitute a match with Adam Cole on TV? Hell, even some people thought that should have been the main event of the show last night. Nope. all due respect to Adam Cole, but his stuff in AEW is just not good right now, and it's not main event worthy in my eyes. Let's get into more crap. Here's Dan Lambert talking to the douchebag Guevara squad.
We have Tiny Tim and his girlfriend, Lucha Horace. We won't stay at the top of the combat sports mountain looking backwards at the bodies we've buried. So unless you guys have any interest in giving them what they're asking for, I guess that answers that question. You guys can kiss that match goodbye.
Oh, man. I told you guys I was not going to be talking about other people's relationships, but here we are. Sammy Guevara and Ty Conti. 2 peas in a pod, right? I called this in the description, douche time with the Guevaras. Since we replaced Cody and Brandy, now we need a new couple that people can give 2 shits about on television. We replaced Rose to the Top with douche time with Guevaras. Hey, good on you, Sammy. I'll admit the waterfall rating in Ty Conti has really dropped down a peg since you two got with each other. But douches cling on to douches, I guess. I ain't mad about it. I never cared about Sammy Guevara. I never will care about Sammy Guevara. And Ty can do it much, much better. But, hey, you do you, pal. You do you, pal. Let me get into this. The Texas Tornado Mudshow Fest in Austin, Texas last night. An 8-man tornado tag match. It was basically a ripoff of the match that we just saw at Revolution a couple weeks ago. Tell me how anybody in the AFO benefited from that match last night. You already did and ran through the Hardy Boys and Private Party last week. And have Private Party take the pin in this match as well. Also, you have Jeff Hardy, barely 3 weeks into the program, do a swanton bomb off the ceiling in through the merchandise tables. Am I watching a wrestling show or am I watching a fucking dirt sheet vanity project? What is this shit? I feel like Tony Khan's trying to recreate his fucking teenage years instead of tapping into what actually today's wrestling is, because I can't tell what the hell his program is. 1 second it's ECW. The next second it's WCW. The next second it's fucking TNA from the Spike TV era days. They can't make up their mind. Mudshow Wrestling. Hardy Boys, Darby Allin, and Sting win. Whoopity-doo! I already talked about what my thoughts were in the Thunder Rosa segment earlier on the show. It was embarrassing. It was an embarrassing look on their promotion and the company as a whole following what happened with Thunder Rosa last week for winning the title. And that's how you present her. And that's the angle you want to go with. Another example why creative freedom is not everything you make it out to be. And also, last night was another example why a live crowd is misleading to one show being good and another show being complete dog shit. We had the main event, the Jericho Appreciation Society against the Dark Order. And this had everything that emphasizes what is wrong with AEW. First off, Chris Jericho should not be on my TV. Secondly, I don't know why the Dark Order are constantly getting these TV main events. Why is John Silver and Alex Reynolds getting more of a spotlight over Pizzeria Uno and Stu Grayson when they're the better tag team? And also, am I really going to try to convince myself that Daniel Garcia is a sports entertainer? And then, lo and behold, we had a melee on the outside, but referee Aubrey Edwards, I put it on Twitter last night, and the sentiment is true. She finds a way to lower the bar as far as shitty officiating is concerned. She lowers the bar as the weeks go by. And I sit there and I'm typing this out, and like I've become numb to it. Like I'm not personally annoyed by it, by AEW tag matches. I'm so used to it. Like I know what it looks like. It's a weekly labyrinth that I had to find a way to type out that makes sense to you guys when you guys read the transcripts. But again, only Aubrey Edwards would figure out a typical heel trip spot on the outside would convince her to inject Alan Angel's impressive advance from the ringside area. Okay? Jericho pretends that he got thrown into the steel ring studs. Oh, you're out of here. And the passive-aggressive high school gym teacher facial expressions. And her pointing finger. I don't know if she's a referee or a Karen. I can't tell the difference between those two. Oh, man, she is rough. And I get that Chris Jericho wants her to be the referee for all his matches, but this ain't it, Chief. And that main event absolutely sucked. So, all in all, another crappy episode of Dynamite. And Rampage ain't got much to write home about this week. So, on that note, that is what the hell's wrong with AEW. Alright guys, I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for this week's edition of the Hoots Podcast. Like I said, it was going to be a little shorter than our more recent episodes. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast anywhere you get podcasts from. You can follow me on Twitter at Josh Lopez Media. Type in the Hoots Podcast anywhere you get podcasts from. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/the Hoots Podcast. Also, Bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. It really means a lot to me. Leave us a 4 or 5 star review on Apple Podcasts. Let us know what you like about the podcast. What would you like to see implemented with the Hoots Podcast as we get to this next chapter of our show as the road to 500 continues? We're already 2 episodes in, so it's going to go by quick before you know it. I just want to say thank you guys for hanging out with me again. As always, hope you have a wonderful weekend. Remember, be the authentic product that is yourself, and remember that nobody dictates the pace of your life but yourself. Make sure to support Brian Carter's work at WrestlingRumors.net and at DerekStoughton.com. For Brother Carter, I'm Joshie. This has been episode 302 of the Hoots Podcast. Next week will be our big WrestleMania prediction show. No! And I didn't know. We're going to pass it off to Brother Carter right now for this week's edition of Thoughts of Dericho. Have a wonderful weekend, everybody. We'll talk to y'all next week. Yes, sir.
And now, the Thoughts of Dericho. Listen well, man.
Welcome, welcome, one and all, to the segment that promises to not lose any doors or have a car be destroyed at all on the road to WrestleMania. It is the Thoughts of Dericho, featuring the one, the only, Brother Carter. All right, let's get into just a little bit of WWE stuff this week, and that'll be the Thoughts of Dericho this week. I'm just going to give you a few brief things from SmackDown, a few brief things from Raw, and that'll be it for this week. Okay, so we start the show with Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Tell me what about this segment was not perfect. You got Reigns coming out, doing the amazing shtick that he always does. Paul Heyman starting to get super scared when he finds out that Brock Lesnar is coming to the building. He's like, wait for me, wait for me. That was awesome. Brock Lesnar's cowboy gimmick is probably the best iteration of his career. Like, it's so psychotic. It's even more psychotic than when he was just the Beast incarnate and he was a must-see attraction. Now he's even more must-see than he was before. I don't know how Lesnar did that, but he does. I am all in on Brock Lesnar and his cowboy gimmick. Is fan-freaking-tastic. Destruction of the cars. Like, it's just so believable what these two are doing. Everyone said, oh my God, we're getting Reigns versus Lesnar again. Tell me you don't want to see that match after this week. That was just absolutely incredible way to start the show. I love it. I love Rick Boogs. It's just amazing. My name's Rick Boogs. I just crack up every time he does it. Oh, it's so great. So yeah, that should be a fun match with them. And, That should be a fun match for them at the him and Nakamura for the SmackDown Tag Team titles. That should be fun. What do you call an episode of Happy Time that puts everyone to sleep? Nappy time. Oh, God. I gotta tell you, Madcap Moss and Happy Corbin are trying. They really are, but we've got to dump this gimmick after WrestleMania. Let McIntyre beat Happy Corbin. McIntyre can then challenge for the Universal Championship against Roman Reigns. Spoiler alert, Roman Reigns is going to beat Brock Lesnar. And then, we can go on and they can do something else. Let's see. Not a bad, match there with the Viking Raiders and Drew McIntyre versus Happy Corbin, Shanky, and Jinder Mahal. I'm happy that Jinder Mahal is actually getting some television time again. Listen, I'm more and more in on this Sami Zayn and Johnny Knoxville stuff. I think it's freaking hilarious. Sami Zayn is worth his weight in gold. And he needs to get a world championship run in the future after Drew McIntyre because he is incredible. Sami Zayn is absolutely incredible. And he is incredibly reliable for the company as a face, as a heel, as an in-ring performer. He's terrific. I love Sami Zayn, and his stuff with Johnny Knoxville is going to be great at WrestleMania. Really good tag match, and I can't believe I'm saying this, with Overrated Banks and Naomi versus Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan. I think that this was a great tag match. I really enjoyed it. Rhea Ripley and Liv Morgan is a team I can absolutely get behind. It's way better than Ripley and Nikki ASH, which was kind of thrown together. Ripley and Morgan have similar, the way that they look is similar as far as their ring attire. Everything that they do as a team seems to work really well. So it's a team I can absolutely get behind, even though I'd love to see both Ripley and Liv Morgan as single stars again eventually. But this was a great match. I really enjoyed it. Dude, I am all in on Pat McAfee as well. His stuff is incredible. And it is very apparent that WWE is all in on him and Austin Theory as a commentator. He does the whole thing, says that Austin Theory has to apologize, and McAfee's like, I'm going to apologize, for being a punk, and then eventually calls him a punk-ass bitch. Or a punk bitch, sorry. That was awesome. Great promo from Pat McAfee. It was absolutely, absolutely terrific. Not a bad match with Ridge Holland and Kofi Kingston. I still feel bad for Ridge Holland because obviously he didn't try to injure Big E, but we're getting more and more reports that the Big E stuff is getting worse and worse. And so I just feel really bad for Ridge Holland. It was just a rough situation for everybody. We hope that Big E gets better soon and Ridge Holland can keep doing what he's going to do. And then finally, to close the show, another great segment with Charlotte and Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey taking another great bump through the table. I'm really looking forward to this match at WrestleMania. I think it's going to be terrific between possibly two of the top female stars in the world right now. Charlotte's the GOAT. Ronda Rousey is the best female in-ring performer in the world currently, I believe, at this moment. So that should be a great match, and what was a fun edition of SmackDown this week. Switching gears to Raw. Kevin Owens is a national treasure. And, he comes out with the whole Stone Cold Steve Austin gimmick. That was great. And he pulled a Shawn Michaels when they did it with the thing with Bret Hart back in 2005. I don't know if you remember that. But the glass breaks again. We think it's going to be Austin, and Kevin Owens faked out the crowd again. That was awesome. I predict that Seth Rollins is going to keep getting messed with until WrestleMania. So next week we'll do something, or he may get a tease or whatever. And then all of a sudden, he's going to come out at Mania. I demand a match. And then we get Cody Rhodes. I mean, it's the fact that Rollins acknowledged the rumors this week in his segment with AJ Styles. Seth Rollins is coming, or Cody Rhodes is debuting at WrestleMania, no doubt about it. Good match with Mysterios and the Dirty Dogs. I don't know what the big deal about hiding Rey Mysterio's face is. All you have to do is Google or do a YouTube search of WCW circa 1999, and you can see his face, like it's right there. At least Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz have a cool VR entrance. But yeah, they've been kind of falling off the wayside of late, which is unfortunate because I think they're both talented. But it looks like we're going to be getting Omos versus Bobby Lashley, which could be fun. And I will say that Omos is getting better every week, or every time I see him. It's not every week because I hardly get to watch Raw live anymore. But I think Omos looked great, and I'm very excited to see he's getting better and better, which I think is great. This new Edge is fantastic. He's reinvented himself again, and it's terrific. I love the new darkness, the new music, the new look with the hair slicked back in the suit. I think he's reinvented himself again, and it looks terrific. I absolutely love it. Okay. There's been some things I've been enjoying lately, but I've got to make a gripe here. WWE has to do something useful with Shayna Baszler after WrestleMania. She's way too talented to not be competing for championships and just get lost in the shuffle. Shayna Baszler is fantastic. She needs to be in the championship picture. I don't know if she's done something wrong, but she's got to do something different than just kind of floating around from team to team to team. She is way better than what it is. The interaction with Carmella and Corey Graves was hilarious. I loved it. It was a genius ruse. Thought it was great. Becky Lynch seems to be taking the Triple H approach to keeping her title. Sell your soul and do whatever necessary. Hey, it seemed to work pretty well for Triple H, which means that Becky Lynch is going to be the CEO of the company eventually. But in all seriousness, that was a badass promo from Big Time Bex. I think she was fantastic. She looked fantastic. My God. Yowie wowie. That was a great promo. I loved it. Always great to see Pat McAfee. It was great to see him in a really good match with Finn Balor and Austin Theory. I was sad we didn't get to see Damian Priest this week. I'm hoping that next week they'll announce Finn Balor versus Damian Priest for the United States Championship in a rematch at WrestleMania. Because I think Balor, he's so smooth in the ring. I would love to see him get another World Championship run because he's just so smooth and fluid in the ring. I think he's terrific. I gotta tell you, Chad Gable is really starting to come into his own as a single star, and he's absolutely fantastic. His mic work is getting a lot better. He's done a lot with Otis. I loved Otis better when he was funny, but I am sold on Alpha Academy, and Chad Gable is really starting to do some good stuff. I really love it. Okay. I got another thing I'm going to gripe about here. I got to give Dana Brooke, Reggie, Akira Tozawa, Tamina, and really R-Truth for trying. But this whole 24/7 thing, it's got to stop. Like, all 5 of these superstars need something new. They need something new to do because just this comedy routine is I think it's run its course. And it's time to move on from this. And you know, I've always thought that Dana Brooke has the potential to be talented. Reggie's just kind of there. Akira Tozawa and Tamina, I don't know what to do with them, but I've always thought a lot of Dana Brooke, and I'd love to see her get a true serious singles run. Maybe this is what this 24/7 run has been, to see if she can prove her worth. But I just think that this gimmick has run its course, and it's time for something new. And then finally, of course, a great match to close the show with AJ Styles and Seth Rollins. Rollins is upset. It's obvious that Cody Rhodes is coming back. That's going to be a huge pop and a great moment at WrestleMania as well. And those are the thoughts of Dericho this week. My final thought is just continue to stay healthy, everybody. Continue to stay taking care of things. We're going to make it through this really crazy time in our history. Be thinking about the people of Ukraine. And I just know that we're going to make it through. Looking forward to giving some predictions next week for WrestleMania and what's going to be a really fun weekend. Take care, everybody.
This has been The Thoughts of Dericho. You're smarter now, man.